I'd like to call the October Land and Facilities Management Committee meeting to order. Start off with our roll call.
Yes, ma'am, good evening. Mrs. Babbitt?
Here.
Mrs. Bourgeois?
Here.
Mr. LaFont? Here. We have a quorum.
Item number 2, Dawson Holloway Cortez, Mr. David Gobert. And item A is to receive a report from Justin Cortez on the St. Charles Elementary School classroom addition. Hello.
Good evening. Well, it's been a while since I was in front of the Land and Facilities Committee. I feel honored. Just a quick report. They did the major slab and foundation pour for St. Charles Elementary School. The contractor began at about 2:30 in the morning. They were very well organized on the site. Everything moved along very efficiently. There were no issues with the trucks themselves. As you can see right here, they were pumping the concrete from a hopper from the next to the main front classroom building. They pumped approximately 450 cubic yards of concrete starting at about 2:30. They ended about 8:30 in the morning with the placement, and then of course they had to continue to finish the concrete beyond that. We were there before everything got started. There were inspections that were held prior to them even organizing the pour. So all of your vapor barriers, your reinforcing was in place. When I got there, the testing agent was already on site and prepared to take his slump tests and to receive his cylinders for future breaks to test compaction or your strength of concrete. As you can see right there, they're placing the concrete from the nozzle from the pump, filled up the grade beams first, and then worked out from the admin area out towards the classroom section of the building. And there the finishers are actually beginning to place the slab on top of the grade beams as they pump. And at about 8:30 in the morning, they were placing the very last a truck full of concrete at the rear of the site, and the slab was complete. So all they had to do at this point, as you can tell, the concrete is still very wet. All they had to do was do the finishing, the troweling and so forth. Everything went very well. There was no delays. Things seemed to move quite orderly. The only thing that did occur on the site, and it's something that will be corrected by the contractor, the weight from the trucks. If you're familiar with the site, they have the asphalt parking lot in front or on the side of the main classroom building. They did have some damage that occurred right at the edge of the concrete, but all of that is scheduled to be removed and replaced with a concrete parking as part of this project. So they're going to temporarily correct that, and then when the project is complete, it'll be a concrete parking.
Thank you very much.
All right.
Questions? The slab looks nice.
It went down very well, very well. I mean, it looks like a slab.
Yes.
Yeah.
Item B, that's to consider a change order request for St. Charles Elementary School. The request add 3 additional days, to the contract to St. Charles Elementary School for inclement weather. Motion. Got a motion by Ms. Bourgeois. I was waiting for you. I was giving it to you. I'll second it.
Okay.
Second by Ms. Diamond. Any public comment? Any board discussion? 3 days. 3 days. If no other comment, in the discussion, we'll vote. Nobody was on.
Didn't touch anything.
Are you on strike over there? Did you vote?
I didn't see it. Oh, I didn't go back. I'm sorry.
Okay, that motion carries. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Have a
Okay,
nice
item,
evening.
you too. Item number 3, the Hurricane Ida repairs at Bayou Bluff Elementary School. A, to receive a report from Mr. Andy Positeri on Bayou Bluff Elementary School.
All right, good evening, everyone. The first report under item 338 is regarding what I'll call the new school building for Bayou Bluff Elementary School. We're in the process right now of completing our schematic design phase. We have swapped some floor plan options with Mr. Sheremy and his staff. Have had discussions with other staff members, to look at things like functional needs and things like that. If you remember several months ago, one of our early presentations, just from a site plan standpoint, we discussed the Little Red Schoolhouse, which if you're standing on the highway looking at the front of the school toward the back right, there's an old historic structure built, I think, somewhere around 1910, give or take. And in our early discussions, we assumed that we would pick up that building and relocate it to a more prominent area of the site. As we got into our code research and I'll just say lengthy discussions with FEMA, we have boiled down options for the Little Red Schoolhouse to 2 options. And I think y'all may have my report, so I'll just kind of go over those briefly. But one option is going to be to just do some minimal renovations, do repair the damage from Hurricane Ida, do some additional minimal owner improvements to that, and utilize that space as the library. There are some issues there. And I think in my report, you're going to see a little table that's got each of these options that we'll talk about has 3 components to it. It's got the FEMA, what I'll call the FEMA scope of work, which in both options is the same number. It's a little over $97,000. And then the second column is going to be this third page. It's going to be the owner upgrades. And then the third column is going to be the effect it has on the new building footprint and ultimately the cost of the new building to get to a total option cost. So focusing on option 1, again, completing the FEMA, what we'll call the FEMA reimbursement scope, minimal upgrades to make this space usable as the library. And by minimal, what we mean is we have discovered there are some rotted windows. We suspect that there is some rot in the framing that's below the windows. And there's some minimal HVAC upgrades that we would do to that. So again, minimal repairs to get it functional. There's also some work that we need to do on the front railing of that front porch. And so that's just enough to get it functional as a library. Option 2 is the same FEMA scope of work, less repairs, less owner upgrades to just stabilize the building and use it as what I'll call surplus or overflow space. Take the approximately 12 to 1,500 square feet of library and add it to the new building design. In other words, increase the size of the new building to accommodate the library. And so those are the 2 resulting costs that you see there. A couple of things that I think are important to factor in that discussion or that decision is mostly with respect to the new building, the Little Red Schoolhouse. And so that's the footnotes I have there below. So obviously, footnote number 1, there's some rot that's evident in the existing building. We have tried to take into account some estimates to repair it, but again, as we have probably seen many times now, once you start uncovering things, the probability of us finding more is very real. And so while we're trying to capture as much accuracy as we can in our costs, we just don't know. And I do anticipate finding more. The Little Red Schoolhouse is on the National Register of Historic Places. And so there are some agencies that govern the restoration of these structures that may require additional upgrades than what we're anticipating right now. Option 2, which is the enlarging the new building, to put the library in the new building. while it does result in increased cost, the benefit is that it combines that space into the new building, right? You've got more, kids are limited, or restricted, I should say, between two buildings instead of having to go across three buildings. So there's a little bit of a safety and security improvement there. And you just end up with a newer building. It takes the oldest building in play, and again, just uses that as surplus. I'm kind of tripping over my words a little bit, trying to think of a clear way to say what I want to say, but it limits the kids between two buildings instead of three. The fourth option there is that, again, as the Little Red Schoolhouse is over 100 years old, there's likely going to be more upgrades and investment in that building as time goes on. So, again, just from the chair that I sit in, I would recommend that you consider option 2, in placing or enlarging the new building footprint to accommodate the library in there as well. But it's certainly open for discussion, which is why I'm here tonight.
So I guess we'll go ahead and see. I do have a question.
Sure.
To start it off, if it's okay. So the Little Red Schoolhouse building is obviously not connected to the building. What is the amount of space between the building that you are working on and this schoolhouse, to where if it was bad weather and the kids had to go to the library, if we had it in the outside building, like, are we talking about we'd have a covered walkway? Is it just like what would the schematics of that look like?
It's probably, as we look at the plan, and we'll come back in the near future to show a plan and an idea, but tonight I wanted to get consensus on what to do with that space first. So right now, it's probably about 30 to 40 feet away. The only way to get there, because one of the considerations that the new building slab elevation is roughly 4 feet higher than the buildings that are there currently. And so we would have to transition down with steps and ramps, get back up with other steps and ramps into the Red Schoolhouse. So there's that consideration.
You would have to put covered walls.
And you would have to cover, that's right.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Any other discussion?
How big is this Red Schoolhouse?
I think it's about 1,200 square feet, 1,200 or 1,300 square feet, which is about the size of the existing library that's there too. It's about a classroom and a half as far as square footage goes. So we're not talking about putting a 4,000 square foot library with 1,200 square foot. So we're trying to keep it as equivalent as we can.
It's a hard decision because the Little Red Schoolhouse is heartwarming to that community.
Sure.
So, I'd like to hear from the people of the community.
But it's also not going away.
Right, it's not going
Like,
away.
it's not
right.
leaving, it's
Correct.
staying there.
Correct.
And if you use it as surplus space or whatever, let's say that there is an event and they wanted to hold the event in the schoolhouse, it would be functional for a nighttime event.
Yes.
It'd be functional if they wanted to have science fair in the Little Red Schoolhouse. However, on a daily basis, having kids going back and forth, it's probably just not functional. It's not logical.
Yeah, I like the idea that they're on the one roof. That is.
Yeah, I do too.
Yeah, by no means are we proposing to tear it down. That's not
Right, we would stabilize it and basically return it back to the Friday before Ida, where
Yeah.
it was, right? And continue with school dues when maintenance is needed on it, right? But we really wouldn't invest in big improvements on it. That money would go towards brand new square footage, right? Just because the complications involved when FEMA got involved with moving it, just completely wrecked any plans, really.
So it's going to stay in place no matter which option we decide.
Yes, ma'am.
It's not moving to
so.
the front like we originally thought.
So,
And we did, just for full disclosure, we did investigate relocating. That entire cost of relocating and elevating it to the new flood elevation would all have to be borne by the district. That would not be a FEMA reimbursement item. And so that cost became even more comparable to option 2. And then at the end of the day, you're still ending up with an old building that you're sinking a lot of money into elevating it, which aesthetically may or may not look good. It might look like it's on stilts. So,
And they'll be able to use it for whatever they so choose. I know it's been intervention place, it's been a library,
yes, ma'am.
so it's still there and they still can use it, right?
We will get it back usable.
Okay,
Yes.
So,
that makes me feel better.
yeah, yeah.
So do you need some action on an option tonight? Is that what you're asking
Yeah,
for?
that's what he's seeking, and the recommendation from Andy that the district concurs with, and I don't mind making the recommendation is you choose option 2, which is,
I'll second it.
Okay. So we have a motion by Mr. Henry and a second by Ms. Bourgeois to look at option 2, to recommend option 2. Any public comment? Any further board discussion? If not, my hand up. Okay. All those in favor? Aye. Any nays? Right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So item B is to consider bids for Hurricane Ida demolition to Bayou Bluff Elementary School.
The recommended action is to accept the low bid for Hurricane Ida demolition of Bayou Bluff Elementary School in the sum of $384,292. And it kind of breaks down as $343,500 was the low bid from Grow Environmental and Construction. And there was an alternate in there of $5,000. And then there is also the architectural fee of $40,792.
We'll have a motion. Motion by Ms. Bourgeois, second by Mr. LaFont. Sorry, Ms. LaFont. Any public comment? Any board discussion? Yes, sir, Mr. Henry.
I know these guys are gonna hate me, but we need architectural fees to knock down a building? Really? I mean, just to go in with a bulldozer and knock down a building, we need an architectural fee?
What does it become?
Well, there's a long answer and a short answer. The short answer is yes. Public bid law requires you to have plans and specs prepared to not only demolish that. Part of this project is to provide a temporary electrical service to feed both the Little Red Schoolhouse and the remaining building on the opposite corner. And so there's some design work, some construction oversight, some bidding. So yes, sir.
Didn't see that.
Well, it's part of that scope packet, the bidding documents that were bid on.
Bid law, require the law.
Any further board discussion? If not, we'll go ahead and vote. And that motion carries.
I just don't know enough. That's why I'm not doing it.
Okay.
I know you need a
We
reason.
just need a reason. Yes, sir. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Okay, item 4 is All South is to receive a report from Mr. Bob Benoit with All South Consulting on Hurricane Ida damages. Good evening.
Oh, yeah. Right, Central Lafourche, we'll start with that, permanent repairs. Goalpost keeps moving back a little further with these guys, but it's getting done, getting closer, but still not where we want to be. Central CM Washington, Thibodeau High School right now is scheduled to be completed December 3rd. I was there today. Central Lafourche is looking really good as far as the roof work. So they are making good progress with that. We have pictures we'll put up later at the end. We'll look at those. The 10 various sites, again, I was hoping by this meeting we wouldn't be talking about this, but we're back. Again, the dates have slipped. We're going to do, I think, tomorrow, Andrew? Yeah, we're going to start doing punch list inspections. So we're getting close. Once you start that, we can see the end in sight. Bayou Buff, we covered that one. Go to middle. So this is kind of evolving, go to middle, but the first thing is a roof project to get ready to finish up the roofs and really all the hurricane work. We're going to put out a special bid It's going to be open on November 14th, and it's for the remaining buildings that we haven't touched. We're working on building 1, as you know, the historical building. These are for the other buildings. So we'll get that work done. The next part of this one will be the demo and the surcharge. Now, we haven't talked about a surcharge because there was some back and forth as far as going with bigger piles or doing a surcharge, which is basically adding dirt fill to the site because we're coming up 4 feet. You do that for compaction, and you can reduce the size of the piling by doing a surcharge. So we have to evaluate the cost between the two to make a decision on which would be the least cost. And it turns out that the surcharge would be least cost. The bad news is it adds 6 months to the project because it has to sit for 6 months before you can do anything. So with that in mind, we're now looking at combining the new building 3-6 with the owner upgrades, which is the auditorium and security upgrades. And that process is going to take time because we have an historical building. We have to get FEMA involved with it. But we feel like that's going to give you the best bang for your buck. You're going to have one bid, and that contractor is going to have all the work. So at the end of the day, it should be better. Go to middle roof repairs. This is for building 1. We're going to look at a couple of pictures of that. We have hubs back working, and they're fixing the problems that they had from the first go round. We have inspections out there full time, making sure it's done correctly. So that's progressing. We should be finished with that by the end of the month. Go to middle lower. This is still hurricane work. We have this bid opening scheduled for November 8th. This is going to be roof repairs, some interior work, some demo, and it's also going to involve some work at South Lafourche High School that got missed in the other bids. So we're kind of picking up some pieces at South Lafourche High School. All right, the press boxes. Nothing new to report.
FEMA still has something on that?
Yeah, and we have FEMA management is involved with it. Mr. Eddie Williams. We didn't speak to him, but there was some email correspondences going back and forth. And hopefully by the end of the week, we'll have more information. Look, the good news is they offered money, right? We have money from FEMA that they committed. It's just that it's not enough. So that's a good sign that they're not totally rejecting this. It's just that we haven't come to terms on what it should be, that they should be giving us to do the work.
It's my understanding that the lack of money is because we're trying to build it to code and they're saying we don't have to build it.
Yeah, it's,
Correct.
So we have to pay architectural fees and I don't live.
we can't build a building without a permit. Right.
Mhm.
So it's yeah.
I understand. I believe me, finally.
Yeah. So anyway, that's why we have FEMA management involved with it, and hopefully they can get something done and get it moving. Now, look, again, since we missed baseball season, right?
Mhm.
Now it's a matter of we can't start until May anyway, I would think. You don't want to start driving piles in the middle of baseball season. So unfortunate, but at least we can do it right. Get the monies right, get the timing right, and get it done, in due time. Chair ROTC, pretty much the same thing. There's been not all FEMA's fault. There's RFIs that came back and forth on Chair ROTC to get the dollars set, and we got information back from the designer, and that's back in, as of tomorrow, will be back in FEMA's court. Okay, I guess some of the pictures, Central Lafourche, is that what we have up? Yeah, so they're finishing, that's the cap sheets. That's, John, you would have to help me with section of the building that's looking toward the football stadium.
That is looking toward the auxiliary gym.
Yep, auxiliary
The
gym,
auxiliary gym.
and that section of, is that the band hall, and what's underneath that? Yeah. Next one. That is the 2-story building. They have a little work left to do. You can't see it, but they're telling me today they'd be finished by the end of next week with that roof.
That one's looking towards the water tower.
Which is LA1.
You're a funny guy, John. I picked it up the first time. The next one, I know this guy. I've been around him too much with sarcasm. This is, John, you want to help us with this one?
Sorry, you got it.
Okay. That too is, there's a section not done yet where the scaffolding is, that's the old part of the school. Looking down from, that picture's taken on top of the auditorium.
That's
Again.
all new covers over all those skylights. Those were all those old from the 60s skylights that we were caulking and sealing every other week with school dudes. So while we were up there doing all this, they made a stainless steel plate that we have overhead.
That's the mansard roof that Andy is working on as a separate bid project. You can see toward the left that goldish color. That's the original wall panel. And on the right is more to the right is the asbestos panels. All of that's going to be taken out and then replaced with new metal wall panels at some point. This is up on top of the auditorium. That section outlined in blue, that's the part that got tore off by Francine. And that's a temporary roof right now.
That's about the biggest damage that we had for Francine. It peeled it up and folded it.
You keep scrolling through. I don't know if we showed y'all pictures of what this looks like. This is that superstructure that was designed to hold up basically the roof of the gym and the auditorium. All of that is tied into the bar joists below and bearing on columns. Anyway, that all gets repaired and repainted, and then the new roof gets put on. That's just showing you why it needs to be repaired. And this is prevalent throughout. You can continue. That is a brace that used to be where the arrow points. It's totally rusted out. That's going to be repaired. That's how it should look. So it's not that way in all locations, but that's just give you an idea of some of the repairs that need to take place. And that's just a cross brace, just showing its function and where it is on the building. Okay, and those guys go down through the roof and connect to the bar joists. You got dozens of these that penetrate the roof, and that's really what's holding up the whole structure. And then
We're repairing these both at Central Lafourche and at Thibodeau High.
Yep. Same identical structure. All right, continue, please. You can keep going. All right, this is Golden Metal Middle, just to give you an idea of what they're doing. So it's covered with ice and water shield, and the plan is to have them reveal where all the rafters are, where nails or screws should hit structure, and that's what they've done. They cut away all the ice and water shield they put up, and now they're going back and putting fasteners where they should be. And you can see those nails sticking up, those are screws. They're going to come back and screw those in. And you can go to the next one, this is close up. So they had a lot of misses, needless to say, but it's being fixed. And again, we have full-time inspectors on top and underneath, making sure it's done properly. What's in blue is what's completed. The yellow is the part that's left. And then in purple is work they hadn't even started yet. So that gets demoed, new decking, and then put back. Again, we're going to be involved until the very end, which should, again, be done by the end of the month. Okay? And then go back, Ashley, to the schedule. So I'll put this in. You can look at it. Go back one up the colored schedule right there. So this is just a snapshot of the work that's remaining. Everything in purple is one project, that's cotton. The gold is another project, that's at 10 various sites. What's in green is St. Charles Elementary. And then the blue colors are work that has not yet started. So keep in mind, those are tentative dates. It's change, but it gives you at least an idea of where we're tracking and, when we're projected to be finished with all the construction. Not shown are some of the projects at the bottom, just because we haven't come up with a guesstimate yet on when they're going to start. But we'll be updating this every month, and just another tool for you to look at in case you want to know where any project is at any given time. You can find it on this schedule. Okay.
Yeah, because it kind of shows January of 27 being the last date, which is the Golden Meadow project.
And it's not difficult to read. The grayscale shows the percent of the project that's complete. So if you look at the first three, you can kind of get an idea of what's happening. If it has no gray, it means it hadn't started. And then the red vertical line, that shows today's date. So you can get an idea where where it falls in relationship to that. Okay. Any questions? All right. Thank
Thank you
you.
very much. Okay, item 5, new business. A, to receive a report from lead accountant Shasta Chasson in reference to ongoing project budget.
Good evening. We have two major construction funds. The 2017 bond has a total referendum of $19.5 million. Total budgets for these projects are $19.5 million. Actual spent to date with encumbrances total $17.9 million. The 2021 bond has a total referendum of $51.8 million. Total budgets for these projects are $51.8 million. Actual spent to date with encumbrances total $40.8 million.
Item B, to consider a lease of land agreement by and between the LaFouche Parish School Board and E.D. White Catholic High School.
The recommended action is to approve a lease of land agreement by and between the LaFouche Parish School Board and E.D. White Catholic High School and allow the superintendent to execute said contract on behalf of the LaFouche Parish School Board.
Need a motion? Motion by Ms. Bourgeois, seconded by Mr. LaFont. Any public comment? Any board discussion? Please state your name and your address for the record.
Ron Soppy, 110 Bourgeois Street, Raceland, Louisiana, 70394. I'm sorry, Madam Chairman, let somebody else want to discuss it, so I was going to let them go first. And my only concern is that there's actually no lease agreement on board docs.
Any other public comment? Now, any board discussion? Mr. Henry?
I'm sorry I wasn't there, Ron, but I can tell you, I had a chance to review the lease. I know I'll receive a copy of
The
it.
administrative documents, we did receive a copy.
Okay, we received the document. It had all the things that I was concerned about approval for any buildings, about approval for, that is for a green space, that any type of structure that had wanted to be built had to be approved by the school board. There's a 60-day out by either party. There's the insurance that has to be purchased, protect the school board. It had everything that you needed to do to try and protect the district. And that's why, and I read through it extensively. And I thought Pat and his crew did a great job on it.
I'm not an attorney, but I read it also, and it looked good to me. But it did answer all of those questions that we had. That's what I was looking for when I read it.
It addressed, I think, all the concerns that the neighborhood citizens had that was here last time, and that was the main thing I was looking for. That was the main thing I was looking for.
So I also want to add, I was the person that was probably a little passionate about this at the last land and facilities meeting. I was very uncomfortable with the idea of a sale. I want to thank E.D. White for being so in agreement to coming to a compromise, I guess you'd say, of using the land as the green space as we requested. And, you know, like even to the point of the trees can't be taken down. The items need to be in place. Like we have say over what happens to the land. And I think that's doing the best to our neighbors and being responsible to the community as well. So thank y'all all very much. Any further board discussion? If not, we'll go ahead and vote. And that motion does carry. Item C, to consider a request from Thibodeau Express Basketball to waive the fees for the use of the gym at Thibodeau Middle School, CM Washington Elementary School, and Thibodeau High School. We have Mr. Trey Wagner.
Yes, ma'am.
Good evening.
How you doing? Trey Wagner, I'm the director of Thibodeau Express boys and girls basketball team. So we've been around, this will be our 28th season in Thibodeau, in the First Parish operating as a travel basketball program. We've been using the school facilities the whole time. Unfortunately, the city of Thibodeau, nor do the parish recreation department providing indoor facilities that we can practice in that's safe, that's comfortable, that's affordable. So school letting us use their facilities is a big help to us, of course. We've never had an issue, 28 years, 30 years of basketball, kids, all the principals love us, all our paperwork's been approved, insurance, Ms. Suzanne, everything's going through as usual. The last 3 years it was approved for us to practice there without paying the $500-$600 fee or whatever, just to practice. Not to actually throw events and lose money. We're actually getting the fees waived to practice. That's all we do all summer. We have an hours. Well, we just practice. That's it. We go in there for a few hours. We practice. We pay the custodian to be there, but we can't afford to do the things we do without our program and pay $500 for practice. So we actually we can get our fees waived. A lot of the money we do bring in is for us to travel, uniform for the kids, hotel rooms, food, tournament fees, things of that nature. So adding more in the budget to practice is like, it's really something we wouldn't be able to operate and do. Most of our kids play in the First Parish, Thibodeau High mainly. 80% of state championship team. As kids I coach that went through our program. A lot of the success stories, Brian Reed, Meek Robinson, you name them, they played with us, came through our program for years and years, and so many others, coaches, principals, school board members. It's part of Thibodeau Express. So, thank you.
We have a motion by Ms. Bourgeois, a second by Ms. Lafont. Any public comment? Any board discussion?
I just want to say thank you for doing something for our children, and, you know, they train them well, they do well in our schools, so we appreciate that.
Wow, that's what we do. Everybody work with us, like you said, volunteers. The community give back their time all weekend, traveling the highways, their own personal vehicles. And so it's something we love to do.
It's definitely a labor of love.
I agree with Ms. Poole. Tremendous.
Thank you. Any other board discussion? If not, we'll go ahead and vote. And that motion carries. Just say the item came up that the insurance has been all taken care of, so everything is covered. We're good. Thank you. All right, item D, to consider a request from Club 1273 to waive the fees for the use of the auditorium at South Lafourche High School. Mr. Dwayne Rebstock. Good evening.
Good evening. Dwayne Rapstock with Club 1273. Club 1273 is a program I started about a year ago to bring music and theater programs to the children of Lower Lafourche. We are on our third production this December. Our first production, we started with 6 kids. This production, we're up to 15 kids that have speaking parts and another 6 that are going to be non-speaking in the ensemble. We have kids from Golden Meadow Lower, Golden Meadow Middle, Galliana, LCO, South LaRose. We are a small group. We're just getting started. We're still in our infancy. Our production is going to be December. We have requested the use of South Lafourche Auditorium. We do have all our insurances in place, and that has been checked and approved. We're just asking your consideration in waiving the fees of the use of the auditorium. The money we do raise with the program goes to buying costumes, props, the licensing we need to hold the production, the licensing for the music. Again, and we're still in our infancy, so we ask for your consideration. Thank you.
I have a motion by Mr. LaFont and a second by Ms. Bourgeois. Any public comment? Any board discussion?
I know Mr. Epstock, and he works well with those kids. He does a great job.
Thank you very much for what you do for the kids. We appreciate it.
Yes, nice to have that drama and that theater for those kids who enjoy that.
All the kids, there's always drama.
Oh, yeah, that is true. There's a lot of that.
Any further discussion? If not, we'll go ahead and vote.
Mostly talk about sports, when it's nice to have a theater.
Or it's important in school. And that motion carries. Thank you very much. Item E, to receive a report on bids for hunting and fishing privileges on section 27 and 33, township 16, South Range 21, East Lake Salvador area.
Yes, the recommended action is to accept the high bid in the amount of $1,001 annually from Chance Fonseca and Ryan Carmodell for hunting privileges on section 27 and 33 in township 16 South, range 21 East, which is the Lake Salvador area.
Motion by Ms. Bourgeois, seconded by Mr. LaFont. Any public comment? Any board discussion? We'll vote. That motion carries. Item F, to receive bids for Hurricane Ida asbestos abatement at Golden Meadow Middle School.
Recommended action, Madam Chair, is to accept a low bid for the Hurricane Ida asbestos abatement in the sum of $61,900 at Golden Meadow Middle School, which breaks down as follows. $32,500 was the low bid from Gill Industry. It's a $25,000 for air monitoring, and $4,400 is the design fee for Ritter Consulting Engineer.
I have a motion by Mr. LaFont, a second by Ms. Bourgeois. Any public comment? Any board discussion? Let's vote. That motion carries. Item G, to consider a change order request for Hurricane Ida repairs at Raceland Upper Elementary School.
Recommended action is to accept the change order request in the sum of a credit of $4,877 for insurance requirements at Raceland Upper Elementary School.
Motion by Ms. Bourgeois, second by Mr. LaFont. Any public comment? Any board discussion? We'll take that. Okay, if not, we'll go ahead and vote. And that motion carries. Item H, to consider a request to hire Duplantis Design Group, PC, DDG, for the Hurricane Ida repairs at Bayou Blue Middle School Gymnasium.
Yes, Lennon Facilities is asking you to accept the request to hire Duplantis Design Group for the Hurricane Ida repairs at Bayou Blue Middle School Gymnasium with an OPC sum of $421,025.
I have a motion by Ms. Bourgeois, a second by Mr. LaFont. Any public comment? Any board discussion? Yes, sir, Mr. LaFont.
Is the 421,000 just for the design, or is that design, construction, or?
That's the OPC, which is an opinionated probable cost, and it includes the architect's best guess on what the project is gonna cost and all soft costs. So it is the design fees, everything associated with it, any testing. Right.
Okay.
This is the total of what we think the project will be.
The way it's worded, it looks like that's his fee. So.
I know, I didn't think it was.
Right.
I wanted everybody else.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And look, this is from Ida. We did an initial repair there. After Ida, we have had issues with leaks in the gym on the floor and buckling and bubbling, and it's rise to its own, special needs. So that's why I want to pull this out as a separate project so I could give it the attention it needs, is what I'm asking for, so we can get this fixed properly.
With no further discussion, we'll vote. And the motion does carry. I am choosing to abstain because of potential conflict of interest. Item I, to consider a request to hire Casnos Goodwin Utley Engineers LLC for the Hurricane Francine Bayou Blue Middle School Boiler Replacement Project. Help me with that one.
I'm gonna slaughter it even worse. Recommended action from Land and Facilities is to accept the request to hire Cascano Goodwin Utley Engineers for the Hurricane Francine Bayou Blue Middle School Boiler Replacement Project with an OPC sum of I'm sorry about that. $272,954. Again, I'm sorry.
Wait, where are you looking? Yeah, do I have a motion? Motion by Ms. Bourgeois, second by Mr. LaFont. Any public comment? Any board discussion?
Mr. Utley, can you tell us
Yeah,
how
can
to
you
pronounce it?
pronounce?
Can you tell us how to pronounce it?
It is Castanos Goodwin Utley Engineering. The two ones that they seem to have problems with is the Castanos
Yes.
and the Utley. Some people pronounce it with a G. So,
Ugly.
yeah.
I caught that.
That's a cute one. Okay, we had that one.
We get all kinds of pronunciations of my last name. So.
Can you explain to what happened to the boilers for Francine?
Yeah, there was water in the ditch and it came in to the mechanical room from some louvers that are there for ventilation of the boilers. And that ended up getting into the boiler and destroyed. It's a particular kind of insulation that's in this boiler. And it destroyed the boiler, took out the burners in the bottom end of it. The burners really aren't available anymore. So you can't really even repair it. And it suited up everything, destroyed the burners. And to repair all that, you have to pull it completely apart and put it back together so you can find the burners. And it's actually not cost effective to do inside that room because it's very, very tight. So we're actually looking to come back with a higher, more efficient boiler because that boiler no longer meets code. It is actually below the efficiency requirements by the feds. So even if we wanted, it would tore it completely apart, put it back together. It doesn't meet code. So we're proposing to use a higher efficiency boiler that's a smaller footprint, a lot better boiler in the way of efficiencies and operation cost. So there'll be some savings there, and we'll also increase the maintenance availability area around the boilers. But we're looking to do this pretty quickly because we need to see if I get it done. Our limiting time is going to be probably the lead time on the equipment.
And then funding on it, we're trying to see what we can collect from FEMA on Francine. We don't know the outcome of that yet. Also, we looked at some insurance policies that we have. But Ms. Chastity has confirmed we do have general funds to cover it either way.
Thank you very much.
I do appreciate the detailed explanation of everything in the fee schedule and everything else. Thank you.
Any further discussion? All right, we can go ahead and vote. And that motion passes. Being that this is all the business that we have to discuss, the meeting